Today is Easter, and I really don't know, many of you would not know the background to what Easter is all about. And since Jesus Christ is one of our gurus on our line, I'll go into the historical part of it a little bit, and then more importantly than the historical part, what it means for us as devotees on the spiritual path. So we start off with, during Jesus Christ's time, first of all, you need to know what was his name. Was it Jesus Christ, as we call it? Was his surname Christ? No. He was Jesus of Nazareth. And Christ is Christ consciousness. Like we call it Kutas Chaitanya, Christ consciousness, Krishna consciousness. Any soul who has risen in his spine through the chakras and merged with God here becomes the Christ. So he was actually started off Jesus the Christ, and eventually the got lost off, and his name so-called was pronounced as Jesus Christ, and a lot of us, especially Indians, think it was his surname. Now we need to understand why he is on our path. What Yogananda ji told, in fact what Lahiri Masha ji told, was that when Jesus was born in that manger, the three wise men who came to bless that baby Jesus were Babaji, Lahiri Masha ji and Swami Shri Yukteswar ji in that lifetime. And they blessed him. And at 12 years of age, Jesus of Nazareth left home, came with this on the Silk Route to India and to Tibet, and was here till 30 years of his age, that is 18 years. And in fact, his visit here is documented. It's not only someone is saying like this, it is documented in Puri. He had some arguments with the priests, and he was basically trying to say, do not get caught in the rituals, and that is where there was this thing. He obviously went into Himalayas, and I am very sure he would have meditated with Babaji there and achieved the state that he was in. And then at the age of 30, he went back to Jerusalem, or that area of where he was from. And in the next 3 years, he did all the things that have been attributed to Jesus. And Master even went on to say that in the Bible, there is no mention of these years. They are, in fact, if you search on the net also, they call the missing years of Jesus. If a person is such an important person to a spiritual path, to religion, how can 18 years of his life have been missing? There's a little bit mention of his childhood until 12 years of age, when he was coming to the temple and arguing with the Jewish priests, and then he's suddenly missing. And then next story is of when he is baptized by John the Baptist. So therefore, what Master said is that he learnt this technique of Kriya Yoga and something similar here. And this is the technique that he taught to his close disciples to find God in direct way. Now I will come to this past week in the life of Jesus the Christ. So the last Sunday, which is called the Palm Sunday in the Christian world, is the day when Jesus came back to Jerusalem. And Jerusalem was the capital of that Greek kingdom actually. Greek had conquered that place, but however, the main religion and the religious congregation were Jews. And they were somehow just not wanting to accept Jesus, who was calling himself the Son of God. And they said, this is blasphemy. How can anyone call himself God? And they were obviously, their power hold of that place was going, and lots of people were going after Jesus. There were miracles upon miracles. He brought back people from death. Lazarus, I don't know whether you've heard this story. Lazarus was a disciple of Jesus Christ, and in fact he was a Roman. I said Greek, it was Roman. And a Roman person, and he was not buried, he was there interned in that, the way it happened with Jesus. I will come to that story eventually. At that time, the way of a person after passing away, he was anointed with some oils and herbs, and his body was covered with white tape, not tape, like a bandage, and they were put in a tomb which was covered with a huge stone. And Lazarus had passed away. For 4 days had passed away since the time he had left his body, and his body was put inside that. And Jesus was away. So when he came to know, he walked, and it took him almost 4 days to reach that place. And everyone tell that he's gone. He says no. And he just went outside the tomb and he said, Lazarus, come out. And he rolled the stone and he came out. He healed people from all possible diseases. Just by touching the hem of his robe, things were changed. And these kind of miracles people were watching, and they were turning away from this religion which was telling them, no, this is the set way of doing things. If you don't do this, paap lagega. If you do this, you will meet God in some lifetime or after you second time and all that. And they said, what are you talking weird? This is the Messiah we have been waiting for. And this was the state at when Jesus came back to Jerusalem. That was Palm Sunday. In fact, there is a story to it. I'll not get into it. He came sitting on a donkey, and but that was on Palm Sunday. Then came the Friday that has passed, which is called the Good Friday. I really do not know why they call it Good Friday, but this was the day when before that he was betrayed by Judas, one of his 12 disciples, and the Romans caught him. And on Good Friday is the day he was crucified. And he carried the cross. If you have seen the movie, he carried that cross through the town of Jerusalem. A so-called crown of thorns was put on his head, because he had said that he is a son of God, and this is his kingdom. And actually, what was he talking of? Which our gurus are talking of. He was talking of this kingdom, the body. And Son of God is all of us. There is a soul within us. But people were understanding something different. And he was told to carry that cross. And he was crucified on Friday. Before it had happened, he had told his close disciples that I will rise. The temple will rise after 3 days. And he had in that time used not direct language. Reason being, it was Kali Yuga, and most of the people, they were crucifying, they were killing people who were followers of Jesus. So therefore, whatever his teachings were not in plain language. And now these immediate disciples, all those 11 of them now, because Judas had betrayed him, were in that place seeing him carry that cross, and they were waiting that some miracle will happen. They had seen it with their own eyes, him resurrecting people from dead, healing people, walking on water, walking on ocean, manifesting food out of nothing. And then they saw like a normal human being where he was falling, picking up the cross, and he was crucified there. And he died on the cross. And they were stunned that what has happened. And they forgot about what he had said. On Easter day, that is on Sunday, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Jesus, and there was possibly another lady, who on the morning at the first light, they went to anoint the body. They took some oil and herbs. And at that time, like I told you, the body was kept in a tomb, and there was a huge stone which cannot be moved by one odd person. At least it takes 3-4 people, strong people, to move it. Was kept at the entrance of that cave. And when they were thinking how we will do that, when they reached there in the morning, they found that the stone had been rolled away. And their first impression was someone has stolen the body. They went in and there was nobody. And when they were surprised and looking around, they found one being, one male body, a male person, whose body was shining with light. The clothes he was wearing were perfect white, and he had only one sentence to say them: why do you search for the living amongst the dead? And they said, who is dead and all, and they were comprehend what is happening. They came out, they went their ways, and Mary Magdalene was walking. She saw another person come towards her, and she did not recognize that person. She just ignored that person. And when that person came to her, close to her, and he said, Mary, the moment she heard this voice, she said, this is Jesus' voice. And then she looked, and it was Jesus in the body, and she fell down at his feet. And he said, collect all your brothers and get them to Galilee. I will come and meet them. And so she went to those 11 disciples of Jesus Christ, and first reaction was, what are you talking? How is it possible? We ourselves have picked up that body and put it inside that tomb. How can it happen? And when the first out of them who said, oh, Jesus had said that a temple will rise in 3 days' time. Maybe it is true. Let us go. Because you must understand, it was just not simple like someone is coming and telling you, okay, let's go there. The Greeks and the Jews were searching for the disciples of Jesus Christ to kill them. So they were in hiding. But they went to Galilee, and Jesus came to them in the body. They touched him, they felt him. Even then they did not believe. Then he started talking of things that he had told them individually. And then they knew that this is Jesus. And then he told them, go and spread this world to the corners of this world, to all those who are willing to listen. Please understand all these dialogues. I'm going to come back to them, what they mean to us. And in a few days' time, his body turned into light, and he rose and merged back with his Father, that is Heavenly Father. And before he was to leave, all these disciples were saying to him, how will we live without you? How can we stay without you? And at that moment, he said, I will always be there with you till the end of time. This is what is the historical part of it. What happened in that week, which we are celebrating, culminating in today's Sunday, starting off from last Sunday. Now we come to, what did it mean for us? All of us are dead people. Till the time we do not realize our oneness with God, we are dead. And we all have to resurrect ourselves. When Jesus was asked about what his disciples should do, he said, tell them to carry their cross on their shoulders, and only those who carry that cross will be my disciples. And like what happens, the people who do not really understand, they started wearing that cross and thinking that this is what he had said. He meant carrying the cross was doing the sadhana, following the teachings, overcoming your karmic things, and then realizing for yourself that you too are a son of God. And this applies to each and every one of us. How we will rise from this place, how we will merge back with that infinite. And if you see a parallel to it, is the story of the Mahabharata. What Yogananda ji again explained in that story, we have spoken of that story in many spiritual fairs and also other times. But I will ask you one question. We equate Bhishma Pitama to be the ego in that story. So, okay. So now just a brief recap that whether you've understood what the story was. Who was the leader of the Kaurava army for the 18 days battle? For the first 10 days, who was the leader? Okay, understood. Bhishma Pitama was the leader for the general for the first 10 days. Then what happened? On 10th day, what happened? Krishna told Arjun to get Shikhandi hidden in the chariot and come in front of Bhishma Pitama. And when they reached in front of him and they started firing arrows at each other, Shikhandi got up. And that moment, Bhishma Pitama stopped firing his arrows. And the reason to that was, we are aware that Shikhandi was Amba in her previous lifetime, and she had this, and Bhishma Pitama knew it. Now, after that, Bhishma Pitama fell down on a bed of arrows. We are aware of that story. And from that day onwards, there were different generals of the Kaurava army. Drona, then Karan, and last was Duryodhan, who was killed on that final day. But I'm not getting into that story. What was happening to Bhishma Pitama during this time? Did he die? So did he die on the 18th day? For how many days after Kurukshetra was he alive? Any idea? 64 days. He waited in that place. And if you go to Pehova is what? Why do you think that time when the people die, they are taken there? Those who do not die a natural death. Is that place where Arjuna had put the arrow and that spring had come. From that water, Bhishma Pitama was drinking. However, what I am coming to is, he waited for something called Uttarayan. I don't know, you are aware of Uttarayan and Dakshinayan? It's basically the movement of the sun relative to earth and especially relative to India, Bharat Desh. When the sun from the southern hemisphere starts coming up, that is Uttarayan. And once it reaches its apex and it starts going down, it's Dakshinayan. So that means for 6 months it is Uttarayan and for 6 months it is Dakshinayan. And Bhishma Pitama was waiting for Uttarayan to begin, because that is said to be the best time to leave the body. Then you will say, "Ye kya logic hua?" That means people who are dying other 6 months, they are going to hell. They might have done whatever in life. So what was it? The answer Yogananda ji said is here. Once, through your spiritual practices, you, with the help of your Guru, that is Krishna in this battle, have made ego, Bhishma Pitama, a Sakshi. That he is lying on a bed of arrows but not interfering in the war. You have reached the first stage of spiritual salvation. That means you have reached the stage of Samadhi. And after that is all about knowing God better and better. And what Uttarayan means is, this is called the north of our human body. This is the south. And when your soul leaves the body, a fully realized soul will leave from here. Otherwise, a person who dies normally, the soul will leave from here. And once it will leave from here, a completely liberated person will actually leave from here, Sahasrar. And this was again explained by Yogananda ji. When Jnana Mata ji left her body in Mount Washington, she was completely liberated. And he called all the close disciples and he said, touch her top of her head. And it was hot, burning at that time. So what Uttarayan meant was, when through your spiritual practices you have learnt to leave from this place. And that is exactly what Jesus did. And that resurrection is what we all have to do. We all have to carry our cross. Do not be under the impression that Guru will take it for you. You have to cross, he will help you. That is what Krishna did on the battle of Kurukshetra. He was only the Sarthi. He did not fight, did not pick up a weapon. But if you really know the story of Mahabharata, his help was the most important. To the perfect disciple who was Arjuna. And we all are Arjun. And if we want to know God, this is what Jesus taught us. How to merge with him and how to overcome all our battles. And now you have to understand what happens in your life. A lot of us would have possibly felt it this way, that you have come onto the spiritual path and maybe your tests have increased. यार उससे तो बेटर मैं वही था, दारू पी रहा था, कुक्कड़ खा रहा था, ये क्या हो गया? God is wanting to know that you will love him, come what may. That is the reason why Jesus could say at that cross, forgive them for they do not know what they do. How could he do it? How could he do it? This very reason. And please realize it, in every saint's life, these tests come. And that is why Kabir Das said, that when you are young and your body is in your control, that is a time to knowing God. As you become older and older, your habit patterns and things catch on to you. So that's what he said. Know God in the spring of your life. In old age, you will not have much choice. But people who have willpower, and again example of that is Jnana Mata. Jnana Mata ji was 70 possibly year old when she came. In 5 years, she was in Nirvikalp Samadhi. Rajshri Janakananda, same thing. We only hear these experiences that they were great souls, they found God, and you think you cannot find time to meditate, there are so many problems in your life. What was happening in Rajshri Janakananda's life? He was a millionaire at that time, self-made millionaire. His wife was super anti-meditation. She used to create such a scene that when he used to sit, that he used to meditate in the bathroom. He used to go to his office, put the board busy, do not disturb, and do Kriya Yoga for 2 hours. Go into Samadhi every day, Savikalp Samadhi. Come out of that state and run this business empire. He helped master financially, and more importantly, he became the leader of SRF after master passed. Was this inward journey a very easy journey? Was this inward journey, as it unfolded, we want, all of us, a lot of us think like Dr. Lewis asked Master, who was his first disciple, and in his first meeting with Yogananda ji, he gave him the experience of Sahasrar Chakra, the 1,000 petal lotus. That means something. But to him also, many years later on, Dr. Lewis kept on asking Master, give me samadhi, give me samadhi, give me samadhi. Then one day Master said to him, do you think you are ready for it? Will you be able to take samadhi? And that is the time Dr. Lewis pulled back. Maybe I am not ready. And taking samadhi requires what? What Rajshri Janaknanda went to. As he started becoming aware of the inner reality, what samadhi and what everything comes to you is your awareness increases. It cannot come to us in the present state till the time we have any negative feeling. What is samadhi? Is basically the ability to feel anything increases million times. So we will say, I am feeling able to feel a little love for God. When I will get that ability, I will go into bliss. Yes, you will go into bliss. But if you have one negative thought, you will go on, light yourself in fire. So it is a blessing that that thing is not coming to us till the time our thoughts are purified. And this is exactly what happened with Rajshri Janaknanda. He reached a state that he could, when he used to eat something, he could feel it go down, go into his stomach, digest, convert into what, go to some organ, from there become what, go where and what and what. And he realized, I cannot eat most of the things because they are harming me. And what are we? Aande burger, aande pizza. We are not even thinking. So he eventually reached a stage that even the slightest of negativity he could pick up. That is a person who is ready to go. So please don't think it's going to be an easy task. We have to carry the cross. We have to prove to God that we will love Him through all tests and trials. And they will come. Please rest. In fact, Master said, if tests are coming, that means you are progressing. If your life is becoming very calm, cool, no problem, it's not a spiritually progressing life. And herein lies the answer. Where a lot of us or at least other people's talk that वो देखो ना भगवान का नाम ले रहा है ना कुछ कर रहा है तो ऐश कर रहा है, पैसे भी हैं, दारू भी पी रहा है, ये भी कर रहा है, सारे गलत काम कर रहा है, and is very so happy. And what am I doing? Remember this. Remember this, even the richest person, when he left, all of them said, I have not loved, I have not lived. So it is for you to realize, do you want to waste your time or carry that cross and be willing to be crucified by this world and then rising, resurrecting yourself and merging with God. So let us pray today that we too, like Jesus Christ, merge with God and find our true home. Thank you so much, Ji.